Tim Burton didn't like comic books, action movies, or big studio productions, so why did Warner Brothers put him in charge of Batman?
You must be joking.
Do I look like I'm joking?
We're talking all about it this week in Kaden's Movie Club. Spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen it, beat it. By the time Tim Burton was hired to direct Batman, it had been in development for 6 years and had already gone through several directors. This already seemed like an odd director choice, but only gets more surprising when we remember that Burton hated all the things you'd think a Batman movie would be. He was never a fan of comic books growing up, he never resonated with action-driven spectacles, and he believed that whatever the big studio wanted you to do, you should probably do the opposite. So why did he take the job? Well, you could say it was for the money or for the career boost, but Tim Burton claims that he was drawn to the world because he believed at its core, the story was about messed up people.
And then he had a...
Right shot! Now you want to get nuts! Come on, let's get nuts.
As a kid, Burton was always drawn to monster movies. He would watch reruns of King Kong, Frankenstein, and Creature from the Black Lagoon. He always felt that these characters were misperceived, and often had more soul to them than the normal characters in the story. So when he started developing a story for Batman, he didn't see a story about heroes and villains. He saw a story about two outcasts, two monsters, two men with tragic backstories who both take on themed personas as a way to deal with their pain. And when we see it like that, some of the more interesting choices in this movie start to make more sense. For instance, if I asked you what Joker's evil plot was in this movie, it might be hard to pinpoint exactly what his ultimate goal was. And in all fairness, that's not uncommon for the Joker character because he thrives on chaos. In fact, a lot of the time in Batman stories, the main reason the Joker does anything is to try and win this game of wits he's playing with Batman. And the way that manifests in Burton's Batman is that Batman and Joker are fighting over Gotham's attention. In his book, Blockbuster, author Tom Schoen wrote, "It is a PR war for the soul of Gotham City, and it resembles less the battle between two superheroes than it does a presidential race with two candidates endlessly finessing their public persona." And this is absolutely true.
What do you think of the theory that the mysterious Batman is a mob enforcer?
Can somebody tell me what kind of a world we live in where a man dressed up as a bat gets all of my press?
Back and forth throughout the movie, Joker and Batman are competing over how the world sees them. Joker is constantly hijacking news shows to get his message out.
I know what you're saying. Where can I get these fine new items? Well, that's the gang. Chances are you bought them already.
But even Batman uses his girlfriend and news photographer Vicky Vale to fight back in the very same way.
Take that to the press.
I might have some trouble with that. A lot of people think you're as dangerous as the Joker.
He's psychotic.
Some people say the same thing about you.
I don't know that Burton really set out to make so much of this movie feel like competing PR campaigns. I think he was just really interested in themes of identity. If both of these men felt something so integral about their identities that it manifested as theatrical personas, a bat or a clown, then identity must be really important to their psyches. And since they both seem to have that obsession, Burton really saw Batman and Joker as two sides of the same coin. And to drive that point home, he went so far as to alter Batman's origin story. In the very first scene, we get a little fake out. It seems like we're going to see the classic tragedy of Bruce Wayne losing his parents.
I know where we are.
But then we see that the idea of Batman is already fully realized. We're not about to go through a lengthy origin story, we're getting thrown right in. In a reversal of classic Batman tropes, Joker is the one that receives an origin story. Over the years of comics, Joker has been given a variety of origins, but a lot of the time his backstory is just left a mystery. Here, it's thoroughly explored. He starts as Jack Napier, the right-hand man to one of Gotham's biggest crime bosses. Jack just happens to be having an affair with the boss's girlfriend, so he gets set up as a form of revenge. He's sent to do a little corporate espionage, but his boss notifies the cops ahead of time. The real problem, though, is that Batman shows up too, and in their confrontation, Jack Napier accidentally falls into a vat of acid. All of this eventually adds up to Jack Napier becoming Joker.
Jack is dead, my friend. You can call me Joker. And as you can see, I'm a lot happier.
In fact, the one time the movie does reference Batman's origin is to reveal that the person who actually killed the Waynes was a young Jack Napier. In most Batman stories, the culprit is just an ordinary criminal named Joe Chill. But this version locks Batman and Joker into a cyclical relationship.
You idiot!
made me, remember?
I made you. You made me first.
Joker created Batman, and Batman created Joker. But once we recognize this mirrored relationship, what does the movie want to say about it? Well, that's a little complicated. In the original script, Joker was going to kill Vicky Vale. This would have sent Batman into a kind of crazy rage, which would have brought the characters even closer together. Burton was really aiming to drive home that maybe these two monsters and outcasts are only one bad day away from being the same person. But that's not the ending of the movie at all. Instead, we get Joker taking Vicky Vale to the top of a bell tower with Batman pursuing them, fighting henchmen along the way. This, and several more of the big action scenes, were largely thanks to a producer named John Peters. As we've discussed, Burton wasn't really interested in a classic Hollywood movie, and it's thanks to that we have a lot of really interesting imagery and themes in this movie. But Peters did want a classic Hollywood movie. He was constantly pushing to make changes to the script even while shooting it, and it was almost always to try and fit in more action or more romance. So when it got time to film the climax of the movie, Peters reworked the ending without even consulting Burton. This led to a moment where Jack Nicholson asked why he was walking up all the stairs to the bell tower, and the truth was, Burton had no idea. It ends up as a more traditional superhero finale where the hero rescues the damsel in distress and the villain plummets to his death. Batman then wins the PR battle because the Gotham police reveal to the citizens that if they ever need Batman again, they'll be using their new bat signal.
He gave us a signal.
Batman went on to be the highest-grossing movie of 1989. It was the first time Batman had been on the big screen since Adam West's version 23 years earlier. But this was the big studio blockbuster version, and the producers, like John Peters, definitely made sure that it felt that way, even though the director they picked was more interested in making a character study that saw its characters as misunderstood monsters, which would explain the sequel, Batman Returns. Because the first movie did so well, Tim Burton was brought back, and this time he demanded a lot more creative control. You can definitely see a lot of Burton flair and style in Batman '89, but that is dialed up to 10 in the sequel when he was given more free reign. A lot of people love it for that, but it also ensured that it would be the last Batman movie for Burton. When Batman Forever hit theaters in 1995, it had a completely different tone and style.
Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through.
Joel Schumacher was hired as director, and the studio's entire goal was to make the movie more family-friendly, especially after Burton's terrifying version of Penguin scared kids and parents. Warner Brothers was very clear with Schumacher. This movie was meant to sell merchandise. But in a way, I think Schumacher was trying to do his 90s version of what Batman was in the 60s. He tried to bring a campy humor back to the world of Batman, but keep enough slick action that kids wouldn't think it was silly to buy Batman action figures.
We could have organized this, planned it, pre-sold the movie rights.
It ended up being one of the highest grossing movies of the year, so Schumacher was brought back for Batman and Robin, which only doubled down on the campy tone, but this led to the end of this era of Batman.
That's a utility belt, not a money belt. 6 million.
7 million. Never leave the cave without it.
One thing that is glaringly apparent in both of Tim Burton's takes on Batman is that he's far more interested in the villains than he is in Batman. A lot of great iconography of Batman is explored with Burton's unique visual style, but any attempts to really explore the complexity of Bruce Wayne end up feeling like a secondary thought. But a brand new, radically different iteration would come 8 years later thanks to Christopher Nolan. I think this is one of the most significant things that Nolan set out to address when he came to the world of Batman. So our next week in Movie Club, we'll be watching Batman Begins, which lives up to its name by giving us the most thorough live-action origin story for the character. And if you're thinking, oh great, that just means I have to watch the Waynes die again, well, yeah, that does happen, but the story uses that as a genesis to really explore why a man would dress up as a bat and fight crime. As straight-faced as any director has ever been about Batman, Nolan asks, what would this world look like if we took it seriously? So here's some questions to keep in mind while you watch. Why do you think Nolan spends so much time on an origin story that Burton felt people already were familiar with 16 years earlier? Do you think the focus on Bruce Wayne makes Batman a more sympathetic character? Or does it paint him as a disturbed person? Think about the portrayals of Gotham City from Burton's Batman to Nolan's. What do you notice that's similar or different? How did that affect the tone of the movie? So let's chat about Batman '89 in the comments, and I'll see you back here next Sunday to discuss Batman Begins. And if you want to stay in the know about Movie Club, you know where to go.